A bookstore sells two types of notebooks, spiral and composition. The store sells spiral notebooks for $3 each and composition notebooks for $5 each. If a customer buys a total of 8 notebooks and spends $44, how many of each type of notebook did they buy? To solve this problem is fairly easy. We're already given the amount of notebooks the customer bought and the overall total. To find how much each notebook the customer bought, we have to multiply the 8 notebooks by $3 because the notebooks are $3 each, and that's going to give us $24. We take the $24 and we subtract that from $44, which is the overall total. That's going to give us $20. So that tells us that the customer must have bought 4 composition notebooks, because we took the 20 and we divided that by 5, which gives us 4. So the answer is A. Question number 2 says, solve 3x plus 7 equals 22. Here we have a basic algebra problem. Our whole goal is to isolate the x. We do that by subtracting 7 from both sides. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Because that 7 is positive, we subtract to eliminate. So when we rewrite this problem, we end up with 3x plus a positive 15. We're still not done, because remember, our overall goal is to isolate the x, meaning that we want the x by itself on the other side of the equation. We do that by forming the opposite operation. So we're going to be dividing 3 on both sides to get the x off by itself. That means 15 over 3, 15 divided by 3, which will give us 5. The answer is 5, B. Question 3 says, how many centimeters are in a millimeter? So on the test, you will be given problems such as these. However, if this is the most simpler form, it's important to know your conversions because most of the time they will not be provided for you. Not to worry, let's do a little bit of practice. So there is 0.1 centimeters in a millimeter. However, what if the problem said, how many centimeters are in 5 millimeters? And hopefully you would say 0.5. Dealing with conversions are almost like dealing with fractions or even ratios. With the formula down below, we can calculate that there is 0.5 centimeters in a millimeter. And we got there because we know that there's 0.1 centimeters in a millimeter. We set our problem up like so, cross multiply and divide, and then we end up with 0.5. And just to be clear, the original answer to this problem is A, 0.1. Alright, moving on to question number 4. It states 2/3 divided by 8 over 24. Now to solve this problem, we can't just go ahead and divide. There's some rules we have to follow, so it's important for you all to remember the rules when dealing with fractions, and you'll be fine. On the test, there's a whole bunch of fractions. I promise you. It's inevitable. Okay, so the rules of dividing fractions, it states that we must invert or flip the second fraction and then multiply. So that means that we have 2/3 divided by 24 over 8. There's 2 ways to solve this problem and probably more, but I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. Now that we inverted our second fraction, we have 2/3 times 24 over 8, which will give us 48 over 24. 2 times 24 is 48, 3 times 8 is 24. And 48 divided by 24 is going to give us 2. A second way you can solve this problem is by simplifying the reciprocal. We do this by inverting the second fraction once again, which is going to give us 24 divided by 8, and that's going to give us 3. And so now we have to rewrite our problem, which is going to give us 2 over 3 times 3. Now remember, when you have a whole number in fractions, there's an imaginary 1 in the denominator place. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you. It's an imaginary 1. So we go ahead and multiply across like so. 2 times 3 is going to give us 6. 3 times 1 is going to give us 3. And then once we divide that, it's going to give us 2. So the answer is A. Question number 5 says, what percentage of 65 is 39? First thing first, we have our percentage hat to help us set up a problem. So in this case, our is going to be the 39. And the of is going to be 65. And when you think about fractions in percentages, always think about 100. So we're going to go ahead and set up our problem like so, according to our percentage hack. and then we're going to cross, multiply, and divide. So the x represents our percentage number that we're looking for. So we're going to cross, multiply, and divide. So that's 39 times 100, which will give us, 39 times 100, which will give us 3,900. And then 3,900, we're going to divide that by 65. So 39 divided by 65 will give us 60. Pardon me, I meant to say 3,900 divided by 65 will give us 60. And so the answer for this problem is going to be C, 60%. Question number 6. Matthew has been saving coins in a piggy bank for 5 years. He has 13,000 pennies and 580 nickels, 1,010 dimes, and 90 quarters. What is the dollar amount he saved in pennies? Alright, to solve this problem, we must definitely keep in mind what the question is asking, because as reading the question, one would assume that you have to calculate everything, right? But the question asks for the dollar amount he saved in pennies. So very important there, y'all, to pay attention to the instructions and what the question is asking you, because they will throw a whole bunch of information in a problem just to confuse you. To solve this problem, we must ask, how many pennies are in a dollar? Well, there's 100 pennies in every dollar. With that information, we can take the 13,000, which is the amount of pennies that he has, and divide that by 100. And that's going to give us a total of $130. So hypothetically, if the question asks, what is the dollar amount in dimes, what would be the answer? We would typically do the same thing. We would ask ourselves how many dimes are in a dollar. There are 10 dimes in every dollar. And then we would just divide by the amount of dimes he has. So we have 1,010 dimes divided by 10, which will give us 101. So we pretty much get the gist. So the answer for 6, once again, is 130, D. Number 7 says, convert to 24-hour clock time. So here we have 0003, and we ordered to convert that into regular time. So it's a matter of knowing your military time. It's a fairly easy concept. You might want to be familiar or get familiar with military time and how that translates to regular time to help you solve this problem. And just a little test taking tip. When you have problems that ask about 12 a.m., 12 p.m., you might want to pay attention to this, because all of the times that are considered morning times they will usually have like the zeros in front of them. They will have zeros in front of them. So that's how you know that it's morning time. And then for as like the PM times, they typically will have double digit numbers, typically. So for example, A says 1:11 a.m. So how will we put that in military time? So if you said 0111, then you're correct. For B, it's 12:03 a.m. So is B the correct answer? If you said yes, then yes. So I'm pretty sure we all get the idea here. If we don't, leave some comments down below and I'll explain further to you how military time works. Question number 8 says, change the following fraction into a percentage. Okay, here's a little hack for you all. Going from percentages to fraction, you divide by 100, but then going from fraction to percentage, we're going to multiply by 100. So given this little special formula or a little hack, what do we do now? We said multiply, you're correct. So we're going to take 2 divided by 3, and we're going to multiply that by 100. And that's going to give us 66%. So on the exam, you want to make sure you read the instructions carefully. Some tests may say, express this answer in a percentage form. Some may even ask you to round up. So in our case, it doesn't really matter. The answer will just be D. Question number 9 says, solve the proportion problem for x. To solve this problem, we have to kind of know what the colons mean. So when you see a problem like this, and you will see a few, don't panic. The colons represents fraction bars and equal signs. So when you encounter this problem, your 12 and 3 is going to be essentially 12 divided by 3 or 12 under 3. And the double colon is represented by an equal sign. And so we'll have x divided by 6. So once again, the single colon represents a fraction bar and a double colon represents an equal sign. So basically you set this problem up like so. You cross multiply and divide like so. So 12 times 6 is 72. And then 72 divided by 3 is going to give us 24. So the answer is A, 24. Question number 10 says, involving the number of apples and oranges in a fruit basket. If there are 12 apples and 18 oranges in the basket, what is the simplest form of the ratio of apples to oranges? So here we have a basic ratio problem. To solve ratio problems, we must keep in mind the rules to simplifying or reducing ratios. So the rule says that we must find the GCF, the greatest common factor. And then once we find the GCF, we're going to divide both numbers in the ratio by the GCF. And then after that, we got to keep dividing until we get a simpler form and until we can't not divide anymore. Okay. So first, this question, we have 12 over 8. Now, the greatest common factor is 3. If you said 3, you are correct. So we're going to be reducing this ratio or this fraction by 3. So 12 divided by 3, it's going to give us 4. And 18 divided by 3 is going to give us 6. Now, we can reduce a little bit more because once again, the rules state to keep dividing until we can't anymore. So our 4 becomes a 2 and our 6 becomes a 3. And then from that point, we can't divide anymore by the GCF. So we're done. The answer is C, 2 to 3. Question number 11 says, how many cups are in 3 pints? Now, y'all, when I was saying earlier that you need to be familiar with your conversion rates, I'm not joking. It doesn't go away, especially in the healthcare profession. So please, please, please be familiar with your conversions. Okay, to even solve this problem, we would have to know how many cups there are in a pint. So there are 1 pint in every 2 cups. So with that conversion rate, we can figure out how many cups are in 3 pints. You can simply just multiply 3 pints by 2 cups, which will give you 6 cups. Or if you need to, write it out. 1 pint equals 2 cups. 1 pint equals 2 cups. 1 pint equals 2 cups. And then add it up. And that's going to give you 3 pints equaling 6 cups. So that's going to leave us with an answer of 6. So the answer is A. And let's remember the question is asking how many cups there are in 3 pints. And so for every 3 pints, there are 6 cups. Moving on to question number 12, it says 2.3 plus 56.8. Now, most of you will be provided a calculator or a digitized or computerized calculator on the test, so you can just simply plug it in the numbers and make sure you have your decimal places correctly and just add it like so. Or for some strange reason you don't have a calculator, we can do it the old school way. So you would just basically take the 2.3 and then add 56.8. It's important to line the decimal places up with each other. And then once we do that, we end up with 59.1. So A is the answer for number 12. Question number 13. On the test, you will see few, not too many Roman numeral questions, but it's important to know because every question counts, right? So with the Roman numerals, it's a fairly easy concept. you have to know what each letter represents, because that's the only way you're going to really find the answer. So how we solve this problem is by writing down what each letter represents. So we have M, C, M, X, L, I, and V. The M is represented by 1,000. C is represented by 100. M, once again, is 1,000. X is represented by 10. L, a 50. I is 1. And V is 5. Normally, we would just calculate all of the letters, numbers through and through. But when you have a situation like we have, I deliberately written this problem so that you guys can understand how to figure out how to do these types of problems, these types of Roman numeral problems. So we have 1,000, and then we have 100 will be the next number, and then we have 1,000. So when we have situations like that, that just simply means that you must subtract 100 from 1,000. And that's just a short version of writing 900. So C before M is 900. Anytime there is a lower number before a larger number, you are subtracting. Like so with our next Roman numerals or numbers, we have 10 and 50. So because that 10 is before 50, it's telling us that it's 40. You can look at it like 50 minus 10 or just simply 40. So the X is before the L, and L is 50, X is 10. So that would be 40. And then we have the same situation with the I and the V. The I is 1 and V is 5. Anytime, once again, there is a lower number before a larger number, you have to subtract or just look at it as 1 less than the actual number. So with the 1 and the 5, it's 4 because the 1 is before the 5. So we were to calculate all of this up, knowing what we know now, for as the larger numbers being before as the smaller number being before the large number, then we will come up with 1944. And I know some of you all may have did this calculations yourself, and you may have came up with 2,166 because you calculated all of the Roman numerals through, but there are certain rules when it comes down to interpreting Roman numerals. So the answer is C, 1944. Question number 14 says, Jane has a water tank that can hold up to 12 liters of water. She wants to fill the tank using bottles of water that each hold 750 milliliters. How many full bottles of water will Jane need to fill the tank to its maximum capacity? If she uses any partly filled bottles, how many milliliters will be in the partly filled bottles at the end? So as we can tell from our option choices, there will be no partly filled bottles at the end. On the actual exam, I recall some problems that actually gave you the conversions, and then there were some that they expect you to know the conversions. For example, in this problem, the note says 1 liter is equivalent to 1,000 milliliters. Sometimes you might find problems like that, y'all, and then sometimes you won't. But it's just still good and safe to know your conversions. So we know that for every 1 liter, there's 1,000 milliliters within 1 liter. So with that information, we can solve this problem. There are several ways to solve this problem, but here's the easiest in my opinion. So the water tank holds up to 12 liters and the water bottles are 750 milliliters. So let's just change our liters into milliliters and then divide by 750. So we take our 12 and we multiply that by 1,000 milliliters because there's 1 liter in every 1,000 milliliters. And then it's going to give us 12,000 milliliters. So now that we have milliliters, we can go ahead and divide 750 milliliters, which is the water bottle, y'all. I hope y'all staying with me. And we want to divide 12,000 milliliters by 750 milliliters, which is going to give us the amount of water bottles it would take Jane to fill up the water tank. And so once we do the division, that's going to give us a total of 16 full bottles. Once again, there are no partly filled bottles. Sometimes the questions add extra information to confuse you or to get you to panic. So these were definitely one of these questions, and you will see more of these as we continue. So the answer is A, 16. Moving on to number 15, it says solve for x. Here we have another proportion problem, but this problem will move really swiftly. If you need a reference, see number 9. So we set our problem up like so. That's 3 divided by 4 equals x divided by 8. Cross multiply and divide. 3 times 8 is 24. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So the answer is B, 6. Question number 16 says, simplify the expression and write in decimal form. Here we have a basic multiplication fraction problem, and according to the rules, we're just going to multiply straight through. So 2 times 4 is going to give us 8, and 3 times 5 is going to give us 15. So the answer is A, 8 over 15. Question number 17 says, how many ounces are in 4 kilograms? So 1 kilogram equals 35.27 ounces. With that conversion rate, we can solve this problem. And we can solve this problem in several ways. We can do the longer way or the shorter version. So the longer way would be to write it out, because they're only asking about 4 kilograms. So it's not like they're asking about 60. So just write it out, and don't be afraid to do simple basic math. 1 kilogram equals 35.27 ounces. 1 kilogram equals 35.27 ounces, etc. until you end up with 4 kilograms, and then add up everything, and that's going to give you 141.1 ounces. Or you can just simply multiply 35.27 times 4, which will give you the same exact answer, 141.1 ounces. So the answer is B. Question number 18 says 718.36 plus 8,452.32. So we just simply plug that into the calculator like so, and that will give us the answer. So the answer is 9,170.68. Number 19, we have 3/13 plus 10/13. Now, according to subtraction and addition fraction rules, if the denominator is the same, you can just add or subtract across. So 3 over 13 plus 10 over 13. That's going to give us 13 over 13, and when you reduce that, that's going to be a 1. Number 20 says, John needs to fill a large container with 15 gallons of water. He only has a small pitcher that holds 3 quarts. How many times does John need to fill the pitcher to fill the large container completely? Now, because we know 1 gallon equals 4 quarts, we can use this conversion rate and write it about 15 times, because there's 15 gallons, right? And that's going to give us 60 quarts. Or we can just simply multiply 15 gallons by 4 quarts. That's going to give us 60 as well. We're not done yet, because remember, John has a 3-quart container. So we just take 60 quart and divide it by 3. That's going to give us 20. So John has to fill up the pitcher 20 times with 15 gallons of water. So the answer is B, 20. Question 21 says, how many gallons are in 14 quarts? So with the last problem in mind, we remember that there's 1 gallon in every 4 quarts. So the question is asking us to find how many gallons are in 14 quarts. So we can take the same conversion and we can literally write it out. 1 gallon equal 4 quarts. 1 gallon equal 4 quarts. 1 gallon equal 4 quarts. And then we are stuck with 12. And so half of 4 is 2. So we do half a gallon equals 2 quarts. And that's going to give us collectively 14 quarts. So then we add up the gallons, which is 1, 2, 3 and a half, or 3.5 gallons would be the answer. And of course, you can do this the much easier way, and that's by dividing. 14 quarts divided by 4 is going to give you 3.5 as well. So the answer is B, 3.5. Question number 22 says, Brittany bought makeup on sale enjoying a 30% discount from a regular price of $185. Assuming that there is a sale tax of 8%, how much did Brittany pay for the makeup altogether? Here we have a regular math problem that we probably do every day without realizing it. So to solve this problem, we have to go through a few steps. First step is to calculate the discounted price from the original price. So we know that the original price is $185, and then we have to somehow figure out what is 30%, right? And we do that by turning our percentage into a decimal, and we divide 30 by 100. But not to worry, we will do more problems like that, especially number 23, if you have problem with changing your decimals to percentages and percentages to decimals. So what I'm doing now, we're going to go ahead and multiply 0.30, that's our 30%, by the original price, which is $185, and it's going to give us $55.50. And so we take that $55.50, we got to keep that in mind because that's going to help us with step number 2. Step number 2, we have to subtract from that discounted price from the original price, and that's going to give us the price that Brittany's paying for her makeup, that 30% off. That this is basically what she's going to be paying with the discount, which is $129.50. But we're still not done because remember the problem asks us to include sale tax as well. Things that we do every day, right? Pay taxes. So step number 3, we have 0.08, which is our sale tax, and we multiply that by 129, which is the price of the makeup, the new price of the makeup. It's 129.50, and then we're going to get $10.36. So what we're going to do with this $10.36, we're going to add it to the discounted price of the makeup, and that's going to tell us how she paid and how much she paid altogether for the makeup with the discount as well as the sale tax. So the answer is D. Question number 23 says, convert 75.3% into a decimal. Just like in problem number 22, the last problem, when we were calculating the percentages for the sale tax, we divided by 100, same concept. So to go from percentages to decimals, we're going to divide by 100. But when we're going from decimals to percentage, we multiply by 100. So simply just plug it into the calculator. 75.3 divided by 100, which will give us 753, excuse me. So the answer is D. Question number 24 says, simplify x to the third plus 8x plus 12xyz plus 44 plus 9x to the third power plus 7x minus 23xyz. To solve this problem, we must first combine like terms. So we have x to the third power matching with 9x to the third power. And then next we have 12xyz will be pairing with 23xyz. It's always good to do this because mental math, it's not always effective. So then we have our 7x pairing with the 8x. And then we have 44, which is by itself, no variables. So that tells us that that number is probably most likely will be on the end of the problem. So that's a little trick for y'all, especially when you have multiple choice questions like this one. So our next step is to add. We have x to the third and 9x to the third. We can only add or subtract the terms that are alike. Because we are adding x to the third plus 9 to the third, we end up with 10 to the third power. And because we're adding and subtracting, we don't have to multiply our exponents. So that leaves us with 10x to the third power. Now we have 7x plus 8x, which will give us 15x. And because both numbers are positive, we'll just add a plus sign. So it'll be 15x. And next we have 12xyz, and a negative 23xyz. So it'll be 12 minus 23, and that's going to give us 11xyz. And because that 23 is larger than 12, and the 11 isn't positive, it'll be negative when combining like terms. So it'll be a negative 11xyz. And so from there, the only thing left is the 44. So we bring the positive 44 down, and that will be the end of this problem. It would be 10x to the third power plus 15x minus 11xyz plus 44. The answer is C. Question 25 says, Olivia recently made an online purchase from her favorite store. The original price of the item in her cart was $83, but she received a 25% discount thanks to a promotional code. The sales tax in her state is 3%, and the shipping cost was $3.99. Can you determine the approximate total amount she paid, inclusive of sales tax and shipping charges? Okay, first, let's be reminded of the cost of everything. The cart was $83. There was a 25% discount code. The sales tax was 3%, and shipping was $3.99. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is calculate the discount percentage, which is 25%, from the original cart price, which was $83, which is $20.75. So we're going to go ahead and subtract $83 from $20.75, which is our discounted price with the discount code, right? Also see number 22 if you need help, because I'm going to go a little bit faster on this problem. So after we come up with the 62.25, we're going to go ahead and calculate what the sales tax is of that price. And that will be $1.86. So we're going to go ahead and add 62.25 with $1.86. That's our discounted price with the sales tax price as well. But we're still not done because we have to also add shipping, which is $3.99. And so once we go ahead and add 64.11 with $3.99, we end up with a total of $68.11. Question number 26 says, Kevin purchased a pair of sneakers for $200, discounted at 20% off. What is the final price of the sneakers, excluding taxes? So first thing first, we're going to go ahead and write down 200 times 0.20. And for those of you who do not know how to change your decimal to percentages and percentages to decimal, see number 22. And so once we do that, we end up with $40. And so we're going to take 200 and subtract that from the discounted price, which is $40 off, and then we end up with 160 as the final answer. So A is the final answer. Question number 27 says 1/4 plus 1/6. To solve this problem, we must keep in mind our fraction, addition, and subtraction rules. So the rules state when our denominators are not the same, we have to find the LCD, the least common denominator. And by definition, the LCD is the smallest multiple that two or more denominators share. So in the case of 4 and 6, our denominators, the multiples of 4 is 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18, 24, etc. And as you can see, the least common denominator would be 12. They both share 12. So that is going to be our LCD for this problem. The next step is to convert each fraction by cross multiplying and dividing. So that 1/4, now that we know the LCD is 12, is going to be the denominator. And so we're just going to cross multiply and divide. So 1 times 12 is 12. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So now our fraction 1/4 becomes 3 over 3 under 12. Excuse me. Likewise, we'll do the same thing with 1/6. We have our 12 as the denominator, and we cross multiply and divide. 1 times 12 is 12, and 12 divided by 6 is going to give us 2. So now we have 3 12s plus 2 12s. And now, because our denominators are the same, we can go ahead and add. That's going to give us 5 under 12, 5 12s. So the answer is A. Question number 28 says, Javier is taking the bus to school and needs to buy a bus card to use public transportation. The bus card is priced at $5 and each ride costs 50 cents. With only $17.50 in hand, how many rides can he afford to make? First thing first, I would write down the cost of everything just to have a clear vision. Bus cards $5, each ride is 50 cents, and he only has $17.50. So I will take $17.50 and subtract that from the bus card because he needs the bus card. And with that remaining balance, $12.50, we're going to go ahead and divide that by the cost of each ride, which is 50 cents, 0.50. And then that's going to give us 25. So he can afford to make 25 rides. The answer is C. Question number 29 says, what is 2 out of 50 as a percent? First thing first, we're going to divide 2 divided by 50, and that's going to give us 0.04. And to turn that into percentage, we just multiply by 100. Because remember, decimals going to percentages, you just multiply by 100, and that's going to give us 4%. So the answer is D. Question number 30 says, after completing a midterm, Keisha and Sean caught up with their friends Leah and Raphael at a coffee shop. With their next exam 3 hours away, Sean opted for 3 beignets and a cup of chai coffee, totaling $9 before taxes. Keisha ordered 2 beignets, a cup of chai coffee with skim milk at an extra cost of 75 cents, totaling $9.25. Raphael chose 2 cups of chai coffee, while Leah didn't order anything. Raphael's total came out to be $15. What is the price of 3 beignets? First thing first, let's write out what Keisha had. So she had 2 beignets, and she had 2 cups of coffee, and also she had skim milk. So her total came up to be $9.25. Now Sean, he had 3 beignets, and he had 1 cup of coffee, and his total was $9. Now Leah didn't order anything, so we can just leave her out. Raphael ordered 2 cups of coffee, and his total came to be $15. Now, we can take the $15 from Raphael's order and divide that into 2 because that'll tell us that the coffee is $7.50 each, which will help us with Sean's order to figure out how much the beignets cost. Sean's order was $9. We subtract $7.50 from $9, so it's going to give us $1.50. So remember, the question asks how much does 3 beignets cost, and they cost 50 cents each, and 3 of them cost $1.50. So the answer is D. Question number 31 says, change the following fraction into a decimal. To go from fraction to decimal, we simply divide. 3 divided by 8 is going to give us 0.375, which is 8. Question number 32 says, convert the decimal into a percentage. So like we saw in question number 22 and 23, to convert your decimal to a percentage, you simply multiply by 100. So 0.75 times 100 is 75%. So the answer is C. Question number 33 says 8 divided by 1/4. Now, to do fractions or division fractions, we must keep in mind our rules. The rules state to divide fractions, we must invert or flip the second fraction and multiply it by the first fraction. So we have 8 over 1 because remember that's an imaginary 1 under that whole number when we're dealing with fractions. So it's 8 over 1. We're going to write the second fraction over and flip it rather, and that'll give us 4 over 1. So now we have 8 over 1 times 4 over 1, which will give us 32. So the answer is C. Question number 34 says convert into a fraction. So we're asked to convert 0.5 into a fraction. There are several ways to go about doing this, but first I'm going to show y'all the proper way to do this. So first thing first, to convert a decimal into a fraction, we must begin by writing the decimal as a fraction over a power of 10. So because the 0.5 is in the ones place, we're going to write 5 over 10. And if it was 500, we will write 500 over 1,000. I hope you get that. So we have 5 over 10. And then now the next step is to find the greatest common factor, or some people may say the greatest common divisor. So when we break down 5, the factors of 5 are 1 and 5, and then break down the factors of 10, which is 1, 2, 5, and 10, we'll see that we have a 5 that's in common, which also is the greatest common divisor. So once we figure out those numbers, the GFC or the GCD, we go ahead and take 5 over 10 and we divide that by the greatest common factor, which is 5. And so we have 5 over 10 divided by 5 over 5. And that's going to give us 1 over 2, because 5 divided by 5 is 1 and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So the answer is 1/2. A quicker and more effective way to go about doing this would be to just plug in the options in the calculator. So we have D is 1 divided by 5. It's not going to give you 0.5. Likewise with C, which is 1 divided by 1, it's not going to give you 0.5. And so as soon as we plug in 1 divided by 2, we get 0.5 instantly. Because this is a time test, I advise y'all to do it that way instead of trying to think of what is the greatest common factor. I feel like you lose more time rather than to go through the options and eliminate. So the answer is A. Question number 35 says, combine like terms. Here we have 6x squared minus 3xy plus 9x squared plus 12xy plus 36c. Just like problem number 24, we're going to combine like terms. First thing first, we go ahead and add 6x plus 9x equals 2. It's going to give us 15x to the second power. And then we're going to take negative 3xy plus 12xy, which will give us 9xy. And remember, this is a negative 3. That's why it equal 15xy. And 36 has no constant to pair with, so we leave it like so. And then the final answer would be 15x squared plus 9xy plus 36c. So the answer is D. Question number 36 says, solve the proportion problem for x. Now, when you see these proportion problems set up like that, don't panic. The colons represents the fraction bars and the double colon represents the equal sign. So that'll be 3 over 4 for the first fraction. And then the equal sign will be the 4 columns together. And then like so with x and 12. And so all we do is cross multiply and divide. So 3 times 12 is 36, and 36 divided by 4 is going to give us 9. So the answer is 9. D. Question number 37 says, convert to 24-hour clock time. Here we have 1611. And so if we know or are familiar with military time, we know that 16 would be 4 p.m. and it would be 4:11. The answer would be D. Question number 38 says, if a garden measures 15 yards in length and you want to convert this measurement to feet, how many feet long is the garden? So first thing first, we know that 1 yard is in 3 feet. Sometimes the question will give you the conversion and sometimes they just expect you to know that. So in our case, 1 yard equals 3 feet. We can simply just multiply 15 yards by 3 feet, or we can just simply write it out, whatever you prefer. We write 1 yard equals 3 feet, 1 yard equals 3 feet, all the way until we get a total of 15 yards. And then so when we get a 15 yards, we go ahead and count how many feet we have. So it's a total of 45 feet. So once again, you can also do it this way, write it out, or you can just simply multiply 15 yards by 3 feet, which will also give you 45. So the answer is 45, and the answer choice is D. Question number 39 says 1,325,647 plus 546,128. We just simply plug it into the calculator, and that'll give us a total of 1,871,775. So the answer is C. Moving on to question number 40. Here we have a Roman numeral problem. And to understand these types of problems, we must understand what each letter represents. Also see number 13. M is 1,000, C is 100, L is 50, X is represented by 10, V, 5, and the I's are 1s. Usually we will just add across, but because we have a lower number before a higher number, like I demonstrated in number 13, this literally means 900. So now we have everything set. We can go ahead and add all of the numbers together, and then we'll end up with 1967. The answer is D. Question number 41 says 199 times 65. And so we just plug it into a calculator, and then it will give us the answer. Or for some reason you do not have access to a calculator for your exam, you can do it the old school way. And so that leaves us with the answer of C. Question 42 says, a train travels at a constant speed of 60 miles per hour. If the train leaves the station at 3 p.m., at what time will it arrive at the station that is 180 miles away? Here we have a basic rate time distance problem, and to solve this problem, we must keep in mind the formula. Time equals distance over speed. We were given the distance, which is 180 miles. We were given the speed, which is 60 miles per hour, and we're trying to figure out the time. And to solve this problem, we calculate 180 divided by 60, which will give us 3 hours. And so with that, we take the 3 hours and add it to 3 p.m., which will give us the exact time that the train will arrive at the station. So the answer will be C, 6 p.m. Question 43 says, which fraction is equivalent to 12.5%? As we recall in numbers 31 and 32, where we change decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals, that's pretty much what we're doing here. Now, there are several ways to approach this problem. Here's a few ways. Because this is a time test, I want y'all to find the most swiftest, efficient way to solve a problem. Now, the first way is to eliminate the option. We go through each option and literally divide and then multiply by 100 to see if we can end up with 12.5%. So, like D, 1 divided by 6 times 100 won't give us the answer. C, 1 divided by 12 times 100 won't give us the answer. And B, 1 divided by 3 times 100 won't give us the answer either. But as soon as we type in 1 divided by 8 times 100, it gives us 12.5. So A, 1/8 is the final answer. Question number 44 says, simplify the expression 5xy plus 7y plus 2yz plus 11xy minus 5yz. First thing first, we're going to combine like terms. Well, we have to identify our like terms first, right? So we have 5x pairing with 11xy, and then we have 7y by itself. And then we have 2yz pairing with 5yz. Because remember, the rules state that we cannot add or subtract any terms or any numbers that don't have the same variables. So we go ahead and add 5xy plus 11xy, which will give us 16xy. And then we take 2yz, subtracting that from 5yz, which will give us it will give us 3yz. Excuse me. And then once we put all of this together, 16xy plus the leftover 7y that has no pair minus 3yz, that's going to be the answer. So we don't see the option, so the answer is E, none of the above. Question number 45 says divide 60 and 5. Now, if we know our 12 timetables or our 5 timetables, we know that the answer would be C. But if you don't, just plug into the calculator. 60 divided by 5, which is 12. So the answer is C. Question number 46 says, what is 65 of 39 expressed as a percentage? First thing first, we're going to look at our percentage hack, which is of times the percentage over 100. So our is, quote unquote, is the 65, and our of is 39. So 65 divided by 39, and we multiplying that with 100 to get the percentage. So we have 65 divided by 39, which will give us 1.666. And we go from decimal to percentages by multiplying by 100. So we multiply by 100 and we end up with 166.6. So A is the answer. Question number 47 says, write in mixed fraction form. Here we have 778 times 214. According to our multiplication fraction rules, we are to multiply the numerators together and multiply the denominators together to get the product as the answer. But in this case, we have another step because this is a mixed fraction and we are to write the answer in mixed fraction form. Now, to solve a mixed fraction problem, first thing we have to do is convert the mixed fraction into an improper fraction. So we do that by taking our 7/7/8. 7 times 8 is going to give us 56. And then with 56, we're going to add 7, that numerator, and that will give us 63. So rewriting this mixed fraction as 68 over 8, we're going to keep the same denominator. Likewise with the second fraction, we have 2/14. So we multiply 2 times 4, and then we add, which will be 8, excuse me. And then so once we add 1, because that's the numerator, we're going to end up with 9. And so we have to rewrite this mixed fraction, and it will be 9/4. Now we can go ahead and multiply straight across. Now we have 63 over 8 times 9/4. And now we can go ahead and multiply that. 63 times 9 is 567. And then we have 8 times 4 is going to give us 32. Now, to put this in mixed fraction form, we have to do long division, old school division, where we, divide, subtract, multiply, break down, those things. I'm assuming that we all know how to do long division, but if not, comment down below and I'll make a short video. Matter of fact, I'll just make a short video and I'll just link it down below. Anyway, we have 32 divided by 567. 32 can go into 567 17 times. And so 17 times 32 will give us 544. So now I'm going to go ahead and subtract 567 from 544, which will give us 23. Now to write this in mixed fraction form, our 17 at the top will be our whole number in this fraction. And our numerator will be our remainder, the 23. And denominator will be 32. So the answer will be 17/23 over 32. And the option will be option C. Question number 48 says, Megan is interested in buying a 1-bedroom luxury vacation apartment in Mexico. She needs at least 30% down to secure her dream apartment. Approximately, how much should she save for the down payment in USD? So, the down payment is 30%, and she wants a 1-bedroom. So the 1 to 2 bedrooms are about $321,000. And so we just take $321,000 times 0.30, and that's going to give us the answer, which is 96,300. So the answer is C. Question number 49 says, convert the percentage to a decimal. Now, if you recall in the previous problems, to go from percentages to decimals, we divide by 100. And when we're going from decimals to percentage, we multiply by 100. So let's do that. Here we're going to plug into our calculator 6.9 divided by 100, and that's going to give us 0.069. Now, if we were to check this answer, we would have plugged in 0.069 and multiply that by 100, and it will give us 6.9. So the answer is B. Question number 50 says, solve and reduce to the lowest terms. We have 6 over 30 minus 1 over 30. According to our adding and subtracting fraction rules, it states that if fractions can be added or subtracted only if they have the same denominator. So in this case, we have the same denominator. So now we can go ahead and subtract straight through. So 6 minus 1 is going to give us 5, and our denominator stays the same. So we have 5 over 30. And we can reduce to the lowest term, and we do that by finding the greatest common factor, or some people may say the greatest common divisor. So the factors of 5 are 1 and 5, and then the factors of 30 are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 15, 10, and 30. So the greatest among them and what they have in common will be 5. And so we're going to take the 5 and divide our answer, 5 over 30, by 5. And we have 5 divided by 5 is going to give us 1. And 30 divided by 5 is going to give us 6. So we end up with 1 6. So the answer is C.